Hey everybody, welcome back. Just want to say at the beginning of this episode might run a little bit longer just due to the amount of content we're going to cover. This is in no way even going to make a dent into what's available to you when using MongoDB, but I want to give you a little glimpse of what MongoDB can do, some of the pre-built operations it serves you, and a couple helpful ones that will let you get started with at least the syntax and kind of know where to look. All right, so far we have dealt with basically this, MongoDB CRUD operations. And in case you're wondering, we're in docs.mongodb.com/manual/reference. It is all the things MongoDB offers. If you go to CRUD operations, we'll see these create, read, update, delete. And this is what we've been using. There's many ways to do that. For example, update documents. We have update one, update many, replace one. We were using find one and update, but notice there are others. Now this is using the shell command, something you can do right through your terminal. What we were using in our servers, such as what we have here, these are the Mongoose commands that are using these shell commands under the hood. So Mongoose makes it easy to use when we're using these Mongoose commands. So if you're looking for something like this, you're going to look at Mongoose's docs. But as we'll see in this episode, there are certain update properties we want to do to an item or something in our database, and there are MongoDB methods to help us do that. All right, so what we're going to look at in here is just some operators. Now, there's a bunch of different operators. If you go to update operators, you can go to array update operators, and some of these will look familiar. Pop, pull, push, slice, sort. So just like the pop or pull that you know in JavaScript, these are the MongoDB ways of doing that. If, let's say, you have an array saved in an object, you can say, hey, $pull this item out of that array. And you can come down here, you can click on something like pull, and then look at the syntax for it. $pull, field one, what am I pulling from? And then what values am I looking for to pull? Likewise for push and other ones. So let's look at a couple of these, how they be used, just to kind of demystify all this heavy documentation. It's really good documentation though. Whenever you're wanting to do something with MongoDB, don't think you need to reinvent the wheel. Do a quick Google search on what you're trying to perform, find the Stack Overflow that matches. That will lead you here, and you'll learn quite a bit every time you want to do some kind of new operation you've never tried before. So don't be afraid of it. It's not that bad. All right, so let's look at some operators. The ones I want to look at, just for the sake of example, are inc, regex, pull, push, where, and exec. We're not going to use pull and push, but we'll talk about them. And then we'll talk about where and exec. If you've learned relational databases like SQL, where makes a lot of sense. MongoDB simulates that with a similar where type of query. Really expand your search. All right, so what is inc? Well, inc is short for increment. Basically, if we have a numerical value in an object in our database and we need to increment or decrement it, we can perform that update with $inc. So where do we have that here? Well, I have here on books likes. And by default, whenever a new book is added to the database, its default value is 0. So if I go and get all my books, notice they all have 0 likes by default. Now let's say each book has a little button on it where you can click like, and that number goes up. Now the first way you may think about approaching this, you have a front end, you have that like saved in state. You're thinking, all I need to do is send that number to the back end and add 1 to it. But that's a little dangerous because there could be lots of people on the site at once. Maybe they all happen to click the like button at once. How does it know that all 5 updates happened appropriately? We don't want to take the database for granted. It is very robust. It will take care of these operations appropriately. So if we have our database do the update for us, it will make sure that the number is appropriately incremented or decremented. So we're going to write a route that increments likes, and then we're going to test it with one of these books, like The History of Joe. All right, let's get started. So book router. Let's make a route down here. Like a book. So if you want to like a book, this is the route that gets triggered. So we'll say book router.put. It's an update. We're updating its like. And we're going to say like /like /author ID. Book ID. So the book ID, we're going to do a find one and update to a book and increment its like. So we just need to send the book ID to the endpoint here. Then rec, res, and next. Okay, so this is a book.findOne and update. And if you recall the order of the arguments here, the first one is, what do I need to update? Well, let's update the book that has an ID equal to the rec.params.bookID. Right, so we know which book to update. And then, what do we need to perform? What update? Well, in the past, when we've done find one and updates, we've just said something like rec.body. Take this object, update the existing one with this object, and we'll be good. But the user is not sending us the updates. They're clicking a button which is triggering a put request to this endpoint, and the endpoint is going to take care of the update for us. So instead of saying rec.body, we're going to provide a new object. And this object isn't an object that we're going to merge into the existing one. This object is going to hold a set of actions we need MongoDB to perform on the object with this ID. So the syntax for a lot of these methods goes as follows. We first say, what is the action? We would like to $increment. Okay, so this is an increment command. Then we open up a new set of object brackets to say, what are we incrementing? Well, for the book you find, we want you to increment the likes. And I'll go check the model to make sure that matches, and it does. So likes, increment likes by 1. And there we go. We can then say new true, and it will send back the updated version. So let me just finish off the end of this route, and we will test it. Okay, so there's the finished route. One more time walking through it. Find the book that has this ID, increment its likes property by 1, send us back the new one, handling the error, sending back the updated book. All right, let's see if we can get this to work. So we'll come over here, we'll grab the history of Joe, we'll grab the book ID, not the author, and we'll say books /like / the book ID. Again, matching this endpoint, books /like / the book ID. Okay, now we don't need to send a rec.body, so I'm actually just going to set that to none and change this to a put request. When I hit send, likes come back as 1. Great, I'll hit send again. Notice MongoDB is keeping track and it's performing the update for me. This is awesome. Don't need to send anything other than the request to this endpoint. No request body or anything. Now if I go back and get all my books again, we'll see that his first book has been incremented to 9. Now, this is the base functionality. I'm just showing you how to perform the database update. There need to be more to this if we want to control the fact that you can't like something more than once. So if you just write this in an application, a user can just keep clicking like. It's not exactly what you'd expect, but this is the start. And using this method is the safest way to increment. Okay, so that's the first. And all of them follow this syntax. Let's say we need to perform multiple operations. Let's say I need to increment something and then do something else. Well, I could make this look a little bit prettier. I could say increment likes by 1. And then before ending this update object here, I could say comma, and then $ pull, something else. But that would have to be, an array. So pull from, maybe there's an array of related topics. So pull from related topics, some topic. Now this would first increment the likes and then pull from the related topics array this string. So you can perform multiple updates in one of these routes using this update object mixed with these $MongoDB methods. Super cool. We'll just keep that to increment though, because related topics doesn't exist. All right, so that's the first one, $increment. Now we're going to get a little bit heavier here and do a $regex. You may have, you may haven't talked or looked at regex or regular expressions, maybe you know basically what they are, but they're used to search strings. And now this is something that you could do for maybe like a search bar. Someone's searching for an author by name, and when they type in the letter P, any author that has a letter P in their name should show up. And as they type more letters, it refines the search more and more. $regex can be used to do this, so we'll show you a quick way to set that up. This time we'll go to the author router. Remember, our two authors are, let's go grab them here, authors, Joe Schmo and Nancy. Two very different names, so we should be able to find what we're looking for. Okay. So we're going to do a search. Get authors by search term. And we're going to build a get route here that does a search. So we'll change it a bit. We'll say author router.get to /search. And we'll just keep it at search because we're going to have them send the search term as a query string. So rec resin next. And here we go. So the search term, we'll call it query. The query term, we'll call it author. So const author equals rec.query. We're just going to deconstruct that out so we get this string, or destructure this object to get the string out. And now we can perform the regular expression search. I'm going to leave a line here because we need to come back and add something in a moment. So author.find, and we need to find all the authors by this search term, this regular expression search term. So while we've hard-coded things like ID or author, we can also use $ methods in here. So I can say $regex. Okay. And maybe it hasn't been a while since I've used this, so I need to go find some documentation on it. Where am I going to go? Well, I'll go back to the web browser here, and I'll go to search documentation and say $regex. Hey, look at that. So it provides regular expression capabilities for pattern matching strings and queries. Perfect. So it says to use regex, use one of the following syntaxes. First, declare your field that you're looking for. So this would be like the author's name, and then say regex, and then give the pattern of what you're looking for, and then provide some options. If you're not familiar with regular expressions, options can be like case insensitive or globally. Look for every match that you look for, not just the first one. So we'll be curious about probably just the case insensitivity. All right, so let's match this syntax. I'm actually going to copy this over so we can follow it directly. So I'm going to get rid of this object and put in this one. So what is our field? Well, we're going to look for every author that has a specific name. Regex pattern. Okay, we won't worry about pattern just yet, but we will give it the case insensitive option of I. So this is a regular expression pattern, 2 /, and it would look for any word that has this exact string inside of it. Well, unfortunately, we can't just say author here. It won't read this variable. Notice this is still dimmed out. Regular expressions are a separate thing. So I actually need to create a regular expression out of this string. Fortunately, JavaScript gives us a constructor to do that. So I will say const pattern equals a new regular expression built from this string. And now what I'm actually getting behind the scenes is this, where author is whatever the user's typing or searching for. So now instead of a literal expression here, I can just say pattern. So it's taking the user string, creating a regular expression from it, and then saying go find an author that matches anything in this string. All right, and then we can finish off this route. So error authors, and if there was an error, we'll finish this route off. Okay, so here is a regular expression search pattern, and just to split this up so it's a little easier to read, let's do that. Okay, let's test it out. So /authors /search, then with a query string of author, that just needs to be any amount of letters. It'll find any authors that match. So again, we have Joe and Nancy. Let's see what we can find. So authors, search, then question mark. we're going to look for an author whose name includes an O. Okay, so we should just get Joe Schmo back. There we go. Okay, what about N? Nancy. What about a Z? Empty. No authors in our database have a Z in their name. And the more specific you get, let's say we had 10 Joes. If I said J-O, all 10 of those Joes would show up because they all have that combination of letters next to each other. But if I said, Schmo, then for sure I'm only getting this Joe. And since I use the I modifier here, case insensitive, it doesn't need to be capital S. It's looking for the string case insensitive. So super useful if you're trying to build a little search bar. This is by no means robust, right? It's going to return anything that includes those letters. So it would have to take more to get a very smart search engine, but we have teams of people that do that. You as the individual building some fun app for a portfolio, this is a great thing to include to show some more of your backend knowledge. Okay, so that's $regular expression. And this is to show you that some of these can be used for updating. Others of these are used for finding. And there's some for aggregation. There's some for manipulation. All depending on what you need. This has got all of it. Okay, so $push and $pull, they are for updates. They are for if you're dealing with an array and you need to add something to that array in the database or remove something from the array in the database. So the user maybe will send you a string, and you can say push into the array rec.body.userString, and it adds it to the array. So these are pretty self-explanatory. You can look at the syntax here. If you go to operators, update operators, array update operators, and go to something like push. And it's saying, great, has the form in your update, you'd say push into whatever array it is, the following values, comma separated if there's multiple. So that's great. Well, let's talk about these last two, where and exec. So where is really nice. It allows you to perform kind of an in-depth and very specific type of search with multiple criteria on your database. So where and exec are, again, very powerful. Let's look at an example. What we're going to do is we're going to say return all books where their likes value, how many likes they have, is above 5, so some sort of range. Very specific, I know, but just to show you the syntax of how these are used together. All right, so back to the books. Book router. Let's find books by like range. A range of low to high. Find books in this range. So this will be a book router dot get, and we'll say, so it's already to books. Let's say by likes. I'm just making things up now. Rec, res, and next. Okay. And we want to find the books where their likes are between a specific range. So we'll still say book, but we're going to say book dot where. Book dot where takes a key. What object key are we looking for in the book? Well, we are looking for likes. Then to chain on to this, we can chain on as many things as we want to specify our search criteria by. So dot by something else, but eventually to actually execute the command, we have to say dot exec. And dot exec does exactly what something like this would do. It returns an error or the thing you're looking for. So that's great. This will be the last one in line if we're using where. So we don't want to use that yet because we want to find likes by specific criteria. And there's a whole bunch of these on MongoDB you can look at, but we're going to say greater than or equal to 5 and execute that request. So that'll come back with an error or our books with a rating of 5 or more or likes of 5 or more. Then we'll just do our standard error handling. All right, so all I have to do is send a GET request to /books /by likes, and it's going to return all books whose likes are greater than or equal to 5. All right, so I'm back here. I'll do a GET request to books by likes, and if you recall, there's only one book that has more than one like or 0 likes, and it's that Joe's history with 9 likes. So let's hit our send, and cannot find this data. So what went wrong? Cast to object ID failed for value by likes at path author from model book. So what did we do wrong? This is a great error to run into because it's very ambiguous. Why did this break? Well, the issue is we already have a get to / something, and that's a parameter. So this is accounting for anything. So by saying / books / by likes, this is actually read as a parameter and causes an issue. So we're going to say bookrouter.get search by likes and make a nice new unique endpoint. So let's say books search by likes, and now send that. And there we go. The only book in our database that has more than 5 likes is that one. If we change this number to 10, there are now no books that should come back, so we should just get an empty array. Great. So this is hard-coded, so probably not the best. You'd maybe say something like rec.query.likeAmount. Like the user tells you, find anything that has likes of 100 or more. Then you just input that here, and it goes and finds all books that has that many likes. But there are many, many, many operators like this that MongoDB offers. So get to know them when you're looking for more advanced querying. Using where with these different query operators along with executing the request is a very elegant way of performing that. All right, so now we covered a lot. There's still a lot more to go in here, but you'll just learn it over time the more you use MongoDB. But don't be afraid of it. Again, look at Stack Overflow. There's a lot of helpful examples on there. It'll always bring you back to the documentation where you can figure out the syntax and try it yourself. All right, when you're ready, let's move on.